Have you ever wondered why the exact same software can totally transform one company, but then completely crash and burn at another? Well, the answer is almost never about the technology itself. It's about the messy, complicated dance between that tech and the organization it's dropped into. So today, let's break down that dance.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the big picture relationship, then we'll try to pin down what an organization even is. After that, we'll uncover the hidden factors that really decide if a project succeeds or fails. Then we'll get into how IT totally rewrites the economic rulebook, and finally, we'll talk about the human side of navigating all this change.
All right, the first big idea to get your head around is this. Technology doesn't just do things to a company. The company, its culture, its politics, its structure, also pushes back and shapes the technology. It's a two-way street, a constant feedback loop.
And this diagram really nails that feedback loop. You've got organizations on one side and information technology on the other, constantly influencing each other. But the really interesting part is that stuff in the middle, the mediating factors. You can think of those, culture, politics, management, as the lens that either focuses or completely distorts technology's impact.
Now, to really understand this, we have to define what an organization even is. And, it's not as simple as you'd think. There are basically two ways to look at it. One is the clean, tidy machine, and the other is the much more realistic human mess.
So on the left, you've got the technical view. It's clean, right? A nice, stable structure that turns resources into products. Very neat. But the behavioral view on the right, that's about people negotiating their rights, their responsibilities, all balanced through conflict. I don't know about you, but that sounds a lot more like a real workplace to me.
Here's that technical model in a picture. It's basically a simple black box. You put inputs in one side, something happens inside, and you get outputs on the other. It's a tidy little model, but it misses the most important part, all the people, politics, and culture that are actually inside that box.
And now let's open that black box. This is the behavioral view. Suddenly, we can see the messy human reality inside, the official hierarchy, the unwritten rules, the company culture, and all the people trying to navigate it. This is the world any new technology has to actually survive in.
And that brings us right back to those crucial mediating factors. These are the human things, the internal variables, that ultimately decide whether a brand new piece of tech is going to sink or swim.
So what exactly are they? Well, you can think of it like a gauntlet that any new tech has to run. It has to survive the company's culture, navigate the internal power struggles, overcome the "we've always done it this way" inertia, get through the decisions managers make, and even deal with what's happening in the world outside the company's front door.
Okay, so we've established it's complicated. Now let's get into the how. How does information technology actually change the game? There are two really important economic theories that explain the incredible power IT has to reshape a business from the ground up. First up, something called transaction cost theory. Now, it sounds a little academic, but the idea is simple. Every time your company has to work with another company, finding a supplier, drawing up a contract, it costs time and money. Those are your transaction costs.
So back in the day, the way you lowered these costs was just to get bigger and do everything yourself, in-house. But as you can see on this slide, IT completely flips the script. It makes it so much cheaper and easier to work with outsiders that companies can stay small and lean, but still be incredibly efficient.
And here's why that matters so much. This is how a tiny startup, maybe just a few people, can tap into a massive global network of freelancers and suppliers. It's how they can compete head-to-head with a corporate giant. It fundamentally lowers the barrier to entry.
All right, theory number 2 is agency theory. This one basically says that a company is just a collection of people, and everyone's kind of looking out for themselves. So you need managers to make sure everyone is actually doing their job and pulling in the same direction. The cost of all that supervision? That's your agency cost.
And just like before, as a company gets bigger, those agency costs go up and up. You have managers managing other managers. But IT is like a cheat code. It gives you tools to supervise more people more effectively and lets you get information straight from the source, which helps keep those costs in check.
So what's the bottom line? Information technology lets companies get much, much bigger without being crushed under the weight and the expense of all that traditional management bureaucracy.
This slide shows you exactly what that looks like. On top, you have the classic organizational pyramid. Tall, lots of layers. And below it, you see the flattened organization made possible by IT.
there are way fewer layers of middle management, and more information and power can get to the people who are actually doing the work.
But here's the thing. Going from that pyramid to a pancake is, well, it's a lot easier said than done. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, the human side of all this technological change.
This quote pretty much says it all. The number one thing that kills big new tech projects isn't bugs in the code. It's people resisting the change. And why do they resist? Because when you change who gets information, you're fundamentally changing who has power.
This is called the diamond of change, and it shows you exactly why this is so difficult. See, you can't just change the technology corner of the diamond and expect everything to work. To be successful, you have to change the tasks people do, the people themselves, and the organizational structure all at the same time. If you only change one corner, the other three will pull everything right back to the way it was before.
So what's the big takeaway here? If you are ever planning a new system, this is your checklist. You have got to think about the world your business operates in, your own internal structure and habits, the culture and the politics, who this thing is actually going to affect, and what specific tasks and decisions it's supposed to help with.
Which leaves us with one final question to think about. As technology like AI continues to get more and more powerful, it's going to be yanking on all four corners of that diamond of change. So, when you look at your own organization, which of those factors do you think will be the toughest to manage? Will it be the people, the tasks, the structure, or the internal politics?